Hello students, since we have because of this pandemic we have already started the online classes, and for alternative English class we have finished writing all the textual questions and answers from the lessons, from all the lessons of the textbook. Therefore it's time to understand the text. So we must have to conduct this online video classes. So it's time to start the first lesson. It is named as Veger. So before we start the lesson, the Veger, you have to understand about the author, because there is less questions come from the author, but you have to know at the same time, because some questions may come from the author. So about the author, the Veger is written by William Somerset Maugham. William Somerset Maugham, he was born on 25th January 1874 and he died on 16 December 1965, and he is one of the renowned or most popular British writer of the early 20th century. So most importantly, he began his career as a physician, but he gave up that profession and he took up writing career as a full-time writer. Then he wrote many of the successful plays, short stories, novels, and his first novel was Leisure of Lambeth, that was published in the year 1897. Among all of his, he had written many of the short stories, but among all of his work of human bondage is considered as his masterpiece. So there is a note about the author in the first page of the lesson. You will read by yourself and then try to understand. Now it's time to go to the lesson. So the Veger, the title here, the Veger means it is a designation. It is an official designation of a person who works at the church. So the Veger is basically linked with the church. Like in the church, we know a father is there, some parishioners will be there, some priest will be there. So Veger is the official designation, and it has come after some vicar, like that post. The Veger is a particular official designation. So we will start with the first line. There had been a christening that afternoon at St. Peter Neville Square, and Albert Edward Foreman still wore his Veger gown. So in the first line we have got two things. One is that there had been a christening. Christening is a process. Okay, christening is a process of giving the name to a newborn child, giving the religious name to a newborn child. It is a process. Like every religion we have that process. Such when a child is born, that particular the name of giving that religion. A child is born with anything, so that particular name of giving it is a process of giving the name of religion. Christening is a process related with Christianity. So that afternoon, the writer is telling about a particular afternoon. So at St. Peter is a reputed church, and it is located in Neville Square. So Albert Edward Foreman, the character, the protagonist, the hero, he still wore his Veger gown. Veger gown means that uniform. While we have to go to the school, we have to put a particular uniform. Like that way, Albert Edward Foreman was still on his walk. That's why he was still wearing his gown. That means that official dress. So first line is like that. St. Peter is the church, and it is located in Neville Square, and the protagonist, the name of the hero was Albert Edward Foreman. We are going to know about Albert Edward Foreman in the whole lesson, and he was the Veger because he was wearing his gown, Veger's gown. So second line, he kept his new one. It falls as full and stiff. It were made of, as though it were made not of alpaca but of perennial bronze. For funerals and wedding, within brackets, St. Peter Neville Square was a church much favoured by the fashionable for these ceremonies, and now he wore only his second best. So the second line says that he was wearing his gown, so he kept his new one. He had another one. He kept his new one as it falls as full and stiff. It was full, it was stiff, it was very hard, it was like ironed. So as though it were not made of alpaca. Alpaca is a particular wool. It is a wool from a particular animal. Alpaca is an animal, and from that particular animal that wool is made, and from the wool that that dress is made. That dress or the uniform is made. So that was told that it was made of alpaca, but of perennial bronze. It was so stiff. It looked like it was not made of alpaca, but it was of perennial. Perennial means everlasting bronze. That is not breakable, that is not whatever. So it was not made of, it didn't look like it was made of alpaca, that wool, using that particular wool, because it may be so flexible, but it didn't look like flexible. It was so stiff, it was hard. The new dress, and that's why it looked like it was made of perennial bronze. The questions will come, how the dress was made of. The dress was made of alpaca, not of perennial bronze. But it looked like perennial bronze at that time because it was so hard and stiff. So he kept his old one, second best, but that new one was still in his hand. It was fold as full and stiff and all those kind of things. For St. Peter Naval Square is a very popular church, and it was fashionable church also for this kind of ceremonies like christening, wedding, then funerals. For all these kinds of things, this particular church, St. Peter, is a very reputed one, and that's why he is able to get every time the new dress. But he didn't wear his new dress, new uniform, but he wore his only second best. Okay, still he had the new one in his hands. He wore, third line, he wore it with complacence, for it was the dignified symbol of his office. So he wore it with complacence, means with satisfaction, with greater satisfaction whenever it happens with us also. Whenever we have the extra emotion for a particular thing, like our institution, for our college, for our school, then we also had this particular satisfaction while we are wearing our uniform. Like those military kind of people, they love to wear their dress. Like that way, the Veger, he loved that particular walk, he loved the church. That's why he loved his walk. That's why he wore his uniform in a very complacent way, in a very satisfaction. He was fully satisfied. And because it was the dignified symbol of his office, whenever we put our uniform, like we have to wear uniform for our college, for our schools, then it also happens that this is a significance, this is a signified or dignified symbol of that particular institution. That's why people wore it with satisfaction, who loved their work, who loved the institution. That also happens with the Veger, Albert Edward Foreman. So he always wore that particular uniform with greater satisfaction because it was the dignified symbol of his office. And without that particular uniform, when he had to took off to go home, when he finished his work, he had to took off that particular uniform and he had to go to the home. Then he had the disconcerting sensation of being somewhat insufficiently clad. That means he felt that he didn't have sufficient cloth. Except that without that uniform, he didn't feel that he had sufficient clothes. That means, okay, without the uniform, he felt that he didn't have the sufficient number of clothes. When he had to go home, he had to leave, or he had to take off that particular uniform at the church, and then he felt that he had insufficient number of clothes because at that time he didn't have that uniform. Okay. So next line is, he took pains with it, he pressed it, and ironed it himself. So about that uniform, he was talking about the uniform. He took pains means he was very emotional regarding that uniform. He pressed it by himself, he ironed it by himself. He took every care of that particular uniform. During the 16 years he had been the Veger of the church, he had a succession of such counts, like the military persons or the other kind of service. Every year he had he was able to get this kind of uniform every year. This sirs was giving him new gowns or new dresses, new uniforms each and every year, but he had never been able to throw them away when they were worn out. And the complete series, neatly wrapped up in brown paper, lay in the bottom drawers of the wardrobe in his bedroom. So what did he do? He got every year a new gown, but even after that, the old one, he didn't throw them. He didn't throw them at all. He didn't throw them away from his the worn out dresses, the worn out uniform. Instead of that, the complete series he neatly wrapped up. He neatly wrapped up in a brown paper the complete series, the old one also, lay in the bottom drawers of the wardrobe in his bedroom. He didn't keep it in the storeroom even, but instead of that, he kept all the complete series of uniform, like the previous one, the worn out one. He took all the things in a very neatly way. He wrapped up in a brown paper, and he left all the complete series on the bottom drawer of his wardrobe in the bedroom. So this is the first paragraph. We will move into the second paragraph, but let me sum up the first paragraph in 2 or 3 lines. So in the very first line we got, there is a process. Christening was done. Christening was a process, as I have told you, it is a process of giving the religious name to a newborn child. So in the sirs, funerals, weddings, then the process of christening was done. Like the same way, that evening, that afternoon, the christening was done. Okay, and the name of the church was Saint Peter. It was located in Neville Square. You will get in the first paragraph. Edward Foreman was the protagonist, the hero. We will get to know about his story in this lesson. So he was still wearing his Veger gown even after he had completed his work for the day. But about his uniform, the writer tells us that he was very emotional regarding his uniform. He felt very dignified because it is the dignified symbol of his office. So he felt very comfortable, he felt very satisfied while he was wearing his gown or uniform. But whenever he had to go home, he had to leave that uniform at the sirs, then he felt he did not have sufficient number of cloth. Clad means cloth here. So what happened? Every year that sirs gave him that new gowns, but even after that he was wearing his second best. He had that new one, full sleeve, and it was full. It was not looking made of that particular wool from the animal called alpaca, but it looked like it was made of perennial bronze. But the truth is that it was made of alpaca, the wool that is obtained from that particular animal called alpaca. So during the 16 years, he was working at the sirs for 16 years. So during the 16 years, he had been the verger of this sirs, and during this time, he was able to get every year some new uniform, but he did not throw them away, all the uniforms, the old one, the earlier one, the worn out one. But instead of that, he neatly wrapped up all the complete series in a brown paper, and he laid all the complete series in the bottom drawer of his wardrobe in the bedroom. So for this video, the first paragraph is there. In the next video, I will come with the second paragraph. For that time, you have to understand what I have told you. Watch this video and try to understand the lines by yourself. Thank you.